Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video episode on Forgotten Weapons. I'm Ian. I am here today at the Rock Island Auction House, checking out some of the guns that they are going to be selling in their upcoming December of 2015 premiere auction. One of them that I noticed here was something that I actually recognized from an old advertisement that I'd found. The Union Firearms Company of Toledo, Ohio, sold two different firearms. One of them was this kind of interesting little automatic revolver, sort of based on an Iver Johnson, and the other was this automatic pistol. So I'd seen pictures of this, and when I noticed that they actually had one here for sale, I figured it'd be a great chance to take a closer look at it. It's got kind of an unusual mechanism for a .32 caliber pistol, and the more I dug into it, kind of the more interesting the story got. Now, this was marketed by the Union Firearms Company. It originally cost $18, and they were for sale between like 1910 and 1912. In total, only about 100 of these were manufactured. The highest serial number known is 88. This one is either 66 or 99. It's kind of hard to tell because the number could kind of go either way. At any rate, this pistol was patented and designed by an Austrian immigrant. He was born in Austria in 1856, moved to the United States at some point, and lived until 1938. His name was Joachim Reifgraber. I may or may not be pronouncing that quite right, but I think I got the gist of it there. And he's got kind of an interesting history. Aside from being a machinist and an inventor, he actually also published an anarchist newspaper out of St. Louis from about 1884 to probably about 1890 called Die Parole, and had a circulation of about 2,000. So there's, if you look in literature about the trade unionist and anarchist movements in the United States around that time, you'll actually find a number of references to this fellow. He was a convention attendant in some trade union conventions, and he shows up in that part of history. And then interestingly, he also shows up as a firearms inventor. So clearly probably an interesting guy to talk to. Now, he had a number of firearms inventions. In around 1902, there's record of him submitting a rifle design to the US military for trials or for potentially to be accepted into trials, and it wasn't, it was rejected, but he made an attempt at it. In 1910, he attempted to supply a pistol to the US military for trials. This, of course, was kind of at the tail end of the US pistol trials, which had been going on since 1907 and a little bit earlier. And he submitted a drawing of his pistol along with a letter, and mentioned that he didn't have one in .45, but his pistol had all of these interesting qualities to it. And the Ordnance Board basically said, sure, we'd be interested in taking a look, but he never did actually complete a .45 caliber pistol. I think by the time he was ready to do that, 1910, 1911 had rolled around and the US had already adopted the Colt. So at that point, why bother? However, at that point, clearly he was still working on his pistols, because that's right about the time when the commercial Reifgraber automatic pistols become available through the Union Firearms Company. So this particular one is kind of rough condition, but it's good enough for us to see how the mechanism worked, which is pretty cool. So why don't we do that? All right, I want to start with just a couple of quotes from the Union Firearms Company advertisement for this pistol, because they make some pretty bold claims. For one thing, they say it can be taken apart or assembled at an instant without the aid of a single tool. This gun fits the hand with unusual nicety and the balance is perfect. It would be impossible to find a pistol that would shoot more accurately or with greater penetration. It cannot jump under any circumstances. A scientific employment of the gas pressure positively prevents it. Its automatic mechanism is intensely practical, strong, simple, and substantial. It is built from start to finish by our most skilled workmen. Only the best quality, strongest, and safest materials are used. All working parts are made of chrome nickel steel. The outside finish is an exceptionally fine blue. Now, this one, of course, is a bit over 100 years old and has lost all of that fine blue, but we can still take a look at how it would have worked. So let's start with just an interesting fact here. This pistol was advertised and marked, although it's very difficult to see it on this particular one, as being, you can just barely see here, .32 cal. Well, there's also, the other part of the marking has worn off on this one. It actually originally said S&W 32 cal. Now the Smith & Wesson 32 caliber cartridge was a rimmed revolver cartridge. However, it appears that these pistols were actually designed to use revolver ammunition, which is kind of interesting. I tested one. The cartridges do actually fit in the magazine, and they do also fit in the breech face. So in addition to that, the original advertisement mentions that regular centerfire cartridges are used, and a special magazine is required for the use of Colt's rimless smokeless. Now, Colt rimless smokeless would be the 32 ACP at this time. So it appears that these pistols were actually designed primarily for 32 Smith & Wesson revolver ammo, but they could also function with 32 ACP, which is kind of a cool feature. Now, when they say that you can take this apart at an instant without any tools, that's actually not that much hyperbole. To disassemble it, you take this lever, pull it down. This one is really tight. There we go. We're going to pull it down to a vertical position, and then we can actually pull the back strap off of the gun. Now, unfortunately, like I said, this one's in pretty rough condition. This is actually the hammer, so most of our firing mechanism is, in fact, contained in this removable grip backstrap, which is cool. This does also function as a grip safety, or it would have originally. You can see it's got a 3-part mainspring back here, which is kind of like the 1911. At any rate, it's retained by this semicircular notch. So our bar back here has a square side and a round side, and when you're in this position, this piece comes off freely, and when you lock it this way, it retains. So nice setup there. We do also have our magazine release here on the back of, it's a heel release, and this is also frozen up. So, all right, now that we've got the back strap off the gun, we rotate this takedown lever to the rearward position, and then I can take the plug in the back of the frame, rotate it about 45 degrees, and it comes right off. So there's the rear plug, and notice it's got that interrupted thread to keep it in place. We then have our recoil spring and guide rod here. Then I can dump out the bolt, the barrel, and the locking lug. So here's the barrel, pretty simple. It does have a bearing surface up here where it rides inside the frame, as well as this bearing surface. This blade guy right here is our ejector. That slides in this slot in the bolt. So when the bolt comes fully back, that ejector punctures through the front of the breech face like that, and kicks the cartridge out that direction. So of course on the breech face we have our extractor on the opposite side, and its spring, which is sort of intact actually. This hole is where the mainspring guide rod goes through, and then that is our firing pin. So you saw that the hammer was on the back strap. So hammer hits that firing pin to fire the gun. The firing pin is also broken off here, so not complete. The way this actually works is you have the bolt in the barrel here, and then we have this locking lever, locking tab, which sits right here. Now the important thing to realize there is this pivots, and when it's pivoted like this, we have a little locking surface exposed, and when it pushes down, that locking surface disappears. So in practice, when the bolt is flush up against the front of the barrel, that locking block right there prevents the bolt from coming backwards. Effectively, it locks the bolt and the barrel together. And then this whole unit cycles backwards in the gun until the tail here hits a little tab in the frame, pivots up, the barrel stops, and then the bolt can go backwards. And on its return stroke, it chambers a new round, and then this whole thing moves forward, hits another cam in the receiver, in the frame, which re-engages this locking block. So that's how the pistol actually works. Not necessarily all that excessive for 32. You could design a blowback pistol, but you know what? This has a nice light spring as a result of having this delayed locking action. All right, I've reassembled the pistol so we can see how this works in actual practice. You'll notice that the muzzle of the barrel actually sticks out the front of the frame, and when I pull the bolt handle, the little gripping surfaces back, you can see that the muzzle retracts. That's because the bolt and the barrel are locked together by that little tilting block back here. So they are locked until right about that position. So right there is where that little cam, that block hits a cam and unlocks the bolt. Then the bolt can travel backwards. It ejects the spent case, loads a new cartridge in, pushes forward, and relocks. So that's how the pistol works. All in all, a pretty clever system. Not a bad design. Now it's interesting to note this was $18 in 1910 to 1912. The other pistol from the Union Firearms Company was an little automatic revolver. That cost $10. So this was probably killed by its price more than anything else. Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the chance to take a look at this interesting turn-of-the-century anarchist designed, mechanically unusual .32 caliber pistol. If it's something you'd like to have yourself, it is of course up for sale, this being an auction house and all. Check out the link in the description text below, and you can find Rock Island's catalog page on the pistol with their pictures and description and everything you need to create an account, place a bid online from the comfort of your computer chair. So, thanks for watching.